Welcome to your next lesson, and this lesson is gonna focus on really my favorite dip ever, and that is a nacho dip. This nacho cheese dip is great for everybody, for every occasion. If you want to have a game night at home, a brunch, a party, or you just need something to snack on with your nachos, this one is the one. You have to have a base that gives you volume and gives you the stretchiness that you know from the cheesy dips. Sometimes people call it a smoky cheddar dip because of its color and because of its smokiness. So I'm gonna walk you through all the ingredients and the ways you can actually tweak the recipe to your palate. First off, we have the base that gives you not only volume, but also stretchiness. These are fork soft cooked potatoes, and it does not matter which potatoes you will use, just find any. This is super budget-friendly recipe, and a little bit of carrot. Now, I cooked everything together for the purpose of creating kind of a broth. So the water that I have been cooking the vegetables in, I still have it here. Not only all the nutrients are there, all the flavors, but also the starch that makes everything glued and actually stretchy because of the starch content in it. You can use also sweet potatoes, you can use different kinds of colors of potatoes, but I think you can stick to this one first. So we have them still warm because they're easier to blend, and you want to make sure they're actually easy to blend because they don't have any clumps and they're a very smooth texture. So we will start by putting them into a blender. So carrots, potatoes in a slightly bigger blender or food processor, which is actually better because it does mix everything together, but it doesn't over blend it because it's gonna be too sticky for you to even get out of the blender. What we will be using in this recipe, except over the vegetables, is the oil, and I strongly recommend to use an oil that is not that fragrant and it's not that flavorsome. So easy option for you would be rapeseed oil, or sunflower seed oil. It also gives you great texture because what you actually like in a lot of the recipe is the fat. It actually makes everything taste a little bit better. We have the oil, and we have already mentioned the broth, which is basically the water remaining from the cooking of the vegetables. And the cheese maker component, which is nutritional yeast, not only great in flavor for its sweetness, cheesiness, but also very, very healthy. What we have here is the spices, and we will be using onion powder, garlic powder, and smoked paprika. Smoked pepper is something that gives it not only richness of the flavor, but also the smoky part that we love so much in this recipe. It also gives you a great color, but if you are not a fan of smoky flavors, you can also skip it. You can skip it, add a little bit of chili, and then you end up having slightly different color of the dip, but you can easily call it a cheddar dip, not the smoked cheddar dip as we're making it right now. So what we need to do first is make sure this still keeps warm, so I better proceed with the recipe. I'll put some oil in, making sure it touches everything, so it's easier to blend. Water, and before you get rid of the water from cooking, make sure you have something aside just in case you need to tweak the texture. Nutritional yeast, and a lot of it, and I mean really a lot of it. Garlic powder, onion powder, and these two for any cheese making are very recommended. And now, smoked paprika. Looks like a lot of dried stuff and not so much potatoes, but it will come together very nicely. I'm gonna close the blender. It's time to blend, and again, love and patience. When the mass forms a kind of a ball, it's time for you to make sure that you actually work with it. So grab a fork, make sure that you unstick everything. You see, it's super sticky already. Maybe I'll twist it a little bit. But this is what we want. We want this stretchiness because otherwise, it's not a nacho dip. Now it's the time to tweak the water. It also depends on the kind of potato you have used, but for me, the most important part is that you can actually work with this and make sure you know the end result and go for it. Let's see. Now that you have it blended a little bit, you have to remember about salt. Now, the amount of salt really depends on your palate, but this one needs a bit. And let's blend it again. So what we should end up with is the consistency that you know from a melted cheese or a cheese fondue, and this is exactly it. You want to make sure you scoop it with nachos or scoop it with vegetable sticks or bread or whatever you want, but this is exactly what we need to end up with. Now, if you tweak the texture with a little bit of liquids, you can also use it for pasta. And if you think mac and cheese kind of scenario, this is also perfect for that. Cook a little bit of pasta on the side and then add any vegetables that you like, mix it and stir it together, and voila, you have a great dish. You can also use it for bowls, salads, anything you like.